Hello, Prime Minister. Karina Roman, CBC News. Many have remarked on how awkward and stilted the public interactions have been between you and Prime Minister Modi. What accounts for that tension?
I think, as always, there are a lot of different subjects that are important for Canadians, whether it's the rule of law and the international rules-based order, whether it's ensuring prosperity, access for our farmers to markets overseas. There's all sorts of different issues, and we've had serious and frank conversations, as Canadians would expect.
But many have described your relations at this time as strained, a challenge, deteriorating. How do you describe the relationship between yourself and Mr. Modi and between Canada and India, and where would you like that relationship to be?
We recognize that India is an extraordinarily important economy in the world and an important partner to Canada on everything from fighting climate change to creating growth and prosperity for citizens. There's always a lot of work to do, and we will continue to do it. Nous reconnaissons à quel point c'est important de travailler avec l'Inde pour créer de la prospérité, pour s'assurer de la lutte contre les changements climatiques, pour assurer accès à nos agriculteurs au marché indien. On va toujours être là pour parler de la règle de droit et l'importance du droit international. On va toujours être là pour travailler de façon franche et sérieuse.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Evan Dyer, CBC News. Could you describe what you discussed today in your pull-aside with Prime Minister Modi?
We talked about how important it was for this G20 to be the success that it was. Having solid conversations and interactions that involved countries, the major countries from around the world, creating moments both for formal interactions and the productive informal conversations that were a huge part of this summit to advance important issues. We also talked about the range of issues that matter, whether it's climate change or the rule of law or issues facing Canadians and Indians.
Two issues you didn't mention, one that has been reported by the Indian media quoting Indian government sources who say Prime Minister Modi spoke to you about the presence, in his terms, of Sikh Khalistani militants in Canada. And the second is the question of interference in Canada by India, which has been cited by Canada's own intelligence agencies. Did neither of those topics come up?
No, they both came up over the years with Prime Minister Modi. We've had many conversations on both of those issues. Obviously, Canada will always defend freedom of expression, freedom of conscience, freedom of peaceful protest. That's something that's extremely important to us. At the same time as we're always there to prevent violence, to push back against hatred. I think on the issue of the community, it's important to remember that the actions of the few do not represent the entire community or Canada. The flip side of it, we also highlighted the importance of respecting the rule of law, and we did talk about foreign interference.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Taria, Israel Global News. So on the issue of foreign election interference, what message did you deliver to Prime Minister Modi?
The message is the one that we have continued to deliver to all our partners and allies around the world, as well as countries that we have concerns with, which is making sure that respect for the rule of law, integrity and sovereignty of democratic institutions and processes, and the respect for the sovereign choices of citizens in and of a given country to choose their future. Diaspora Canadians make up a huge proportion of our country, and they should be able to express themselves and make their choices without interference from any of the many countries that we know are involved in interference challenges.
A lot of the language in the Declaration on Climate Change is aspirational without firm targets. So why did Canada sign on to that? And given the aspirational goals, can you describe this summit as a success?
Again, Canada will always be pushing hard for stronger language on climate change. What we've been able to do by bringing in a price on pollution, by leading the G7 in reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, these are things that we will continue to push for more ambition, because we know that everyone needs to do their part, and quite frankly, the G7, G20 countries are responsible collectively for about 80% of global emissions. So as we look to hold to that 1.5 target and attain it, we know that everyone needs to do their part. We will continue to push as hard as we can on stronger language every step of the way.
Hi, what did Canada contribute to the communique?
As always, Canada is a strong voice for inclusion of gender language, inclusion of Indigenous reflections, but all throughout we made sure that countries around the world are focused on growing the economy in inclusive ways, creating opportunity and prosperity for everyone in a more peaceful, more secure world, respect for the rule of law, ambition on fighting climate change. These are all things that Canada pushes for at every summit, among others, and we will continue to. Okay. Le Canada, à tous nos sommets, pousse pour de langage d'inclusion, que ce soit sur les femmes ou sur les peuples autochtones. On est là pour se battre pour une vision économique inclusive, pour s'assurer que tout le monde puisse réussir. Je parle toujours de l'importance du multilatéralisme et des solutions que nous cherchons ensemble. On parle de sécurité, de stabilité et de l'importance de la lutte contre les changements climatiques. Et je peux vous assurer que dans les négociations, le Canada a poussé très fort sur tous ces enjeux.
All right, that's the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, interestingly confirming that he did speak to Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in his meeting on both the Khalistan threat issue that India has raised and what Canada calls foreign government intervention. We will slip into a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you more on that and other developments from the sidelines of the G20 Summit.